What's happening, guys? My name is OTG and welcome back to Davilo's Journey. It's been a long time. We are here at Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It was a weird practice session. We ended up finishing first. It was a bit of a topsy-turvy one with Hamilton and that all down in the lower parts, really, like down in 17s and 16s, that sort of region. So a bit of a topsy-turvy practice session, but we're here in Q1 for our first proper lap. Our first one was pretty dismal. We were stuck behind Adrian Suttle for the majority of it and couldn't get ourselves past. We're going for a set on the prime tyres, so we're really going for a risk now. We're going to try and get a quick enough time in the prime tyres to save a set of the option tyres, and you can see there we've gone drastically wide to try and survive now. So as we fast forward here, we're currently in 8th, but you can tell we're going to dwindle in times rather rapidly. As Lewis Hamilton's the last fast guy across the line, it's between us, Perez and Suttle. If one of them two beats us, we'll have to go back on track. So we've got 6-ish minutes now, but it's just dwindling in time. So in the pits we are with Perez and Suttle out. Perez is on his 6th lap now, and I would assume Suttle's a similar time. We've only set 2 laps. Maldonado's set 11 laps, and coming in, we've lost the chance to go back out, but it was good enough, and we've secured ourselves into Q2. Going out, Adrian Suttle, Romain Grosjean, and the Caterhams and Marussias as expected. Now we're on the set of the option tyres coming through, and you can see there we get a dreadful line there, a lot of understeer coming out of the hairpin style corner, and we just cannot get the exit out of that corner as we would like. So we go purple on our provisional lap, but as you can see, there's other cars coming behind, and there's Sebastian Vettel smashing it, and we're going to start to dwindle down. So it was a pretty poor lap, as you could tell by the fact we went wide. A 1:16.4 is nowhere near what we can set. Easily 14s is going to be the pace of this sessions, but we're down in 12th. Raikkonen's down there as well, so we're just minorly improving now. This isn't our best lap, but it's still a minor improvement. So we're 1.1 seconds up, so as long as we can get a decent lap into Q2, you know, we're battling to try and hold on to our 3rd place in the championship and get the crucial money for the team, and also keep our reputation as one of the top drivers in Formula 1 at the time. We're up into 8th now, in between the 2 Toro Rossos of Kvyat and Jean-Eric Verne. Sorry, I almost said Romain Grosjean there, but you know, this is not a bad qualifying session at all. You know, we've got to try and get ourselves in there, but it wasn't a good enough time. Still in between Kvyat and Verne, and we go purple in the first sector now as we're trying to claw our way out and knock out our teammate from the session, which, you know, is going to be very interesting. We've gone green, so we're improving definitely. So we're up on Button, which could see us move out of the drop zone really, and put Jenson Button right in to the firing zone of getting knocked out in Q2 now. As we come across the line, it's a 13.3, so a lot faster than I was expecting there. So we're definitely going to be hoping to get through with that time. We're 4 tenths down with Lewis Hamilton, and not far off the pace really. When you look at that, it was extremely close from Vettel to us. So we're kept up with the paces of the Red Bulls, but Jenson Button just disappointing the team there. 3 tenths off Sergio Perez, who once again scrapes through into Q3 by the skin of his teeth, as we now look towards our final set of qualifying now, and we're on the option tyres as you would expect. We're the first car now to come across the line as we're coming through the final few corners. Going to take it flat out as you would expect. DRS open, reaching 120 miles an hour. If we cross the line at 1:15.7, we were setting from 13, so as you can tell, that is a really poor lap. So we've gone wrong somewhere there, but we're making improvements now. 1.2 seconds up. We need to try and jump a few of these guys. At the moment, we're 8 tenths down on Rosberg, which is, you know, probably the expected pace of the McLarens, but we can definitely improve upon that now as we come across the line. It's a 1:13.9, not good enough. We're still a second down, and we're going to quickly come into the garage and get out as soon as possible, and hopefully set a faster time now. So we're on to our final hot lap. We could possibly go out a little bit more, but as you can tell, we're low on fuel. We want to get these tyres. We need to try and take the optimal opportunity, and we've got some open space now as all the cars are piling out of the pits now to try and be the last guy across the line. As we're coming through these few corners, we need to try and set the quickest time possible, and to do so we've got ourselves into a nice gap now. So the only guy that's behind us is Checo Perez. We're 6 tenths down on Lewis Hamilton now. We're 4 tenths up, almost 5 tenths pretty much up on our previous time. And it's time now to really push. It's pretty much a straight line now, so all the difficult work's done is getting the optimal lines out of these corners, getting the DRS open nice and early. As we come across into the final corner, we reach 2:04. As we cross the line, it's 1:13.5, which pushes us into 6th between Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg. We are now under 1 second from Lewis Hamilton, which is very respectable for us, and it's 2 Mercedes from a Ferrari, 2 Red Bulls, a McLaren, the Sahara Force India of Hülkenberg, followed by the 2 Williams and Perez once again. at the back. He couldn't scrape himself into pole this time, but yeah, nice qualifying, we'll take that, you know, nothing to be disappointed about. But the important factor is, remember, it's just the same as practice, it's a wet qualifying session. So taking positives from that, we were fastest in the wet during the practice sessions, which is extremely positive for us, and we got a nice bit of time out there. We pretty much know what the wet tyres can do out on this track, and we've got a good judgment of where we're going to be. But the interesting thing is about 33% chance of rain, so with that in mind, sorry, 31%, you know, with that in mind, this is going to be an interesting race. It's probably going to be from wets to inters to dries. That's probably what we're going to be doing. If it would have been 31 and we started on dries, we would have definitely been on the wets by the end of the race. So, you know, it's all about them. Saving tyres was pretty pointless, and we could have got knocked out for no reason, really. You know, it was a risk we had to take, and we've taken it. Didn't really pay off, but it will do, because we'll have a nice fresh set of option tyres to go on to, hopefully, when the wet weather dwindles away and we're onto the fresh. But we're now onto the grid. Jenson Button is just down the grid, nowhere near us, but there's Sebastian Vettel and Ricciardo. You can see Alonso's name, you can just see Lewis Hamilton. We've got 5 lights now, and we are away for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Of course, Sergio's home Grand Prix, and he's come home to hopefully to applause and cheers. Last time he was here, he won the Grand Prix and won the World Championship. Sadly, I don't think that's going to be the case this weekend. I think the Mercedes once again are going to take their second consecutive World Championship, whether it's Hamilton or Rosberg to follow in the footsteps of the great Brazilian. We're going to find out. But he's got himself up into third now as Nico Rosberg having a bit of contact with him. He's in the dirty spray of Fernando Alonso. He's up the inside, it's side by side. He's dived it and rid the curb nicely. Get a nice exit out of that corner, and he's got himself up into P2. Lewis Hamilton now is already away, and I can tell you, a little bit of a spoiler, we ain't going to catch him. You know, in the wet weather conditions, these cars in the AI have got the traction control and got the overpoweredness of a normal just the overpowered driving. I don't know why, but you can see it's definitely got a lot lighter, and the cars are going to start coming in very shortly. I don't think just about now this is the time to be coming in, but it's definitely getting there. It looks too wet for the inters, in my opinion, as we come into the start finish straight. Looking behind us, it does look a little bit damp, but the AI cars have come in, so have they got some information I was unavailable to have? You know, didn't have the volume up that much. Maybe we didn't hear from our engineer, but Lewis Hamilton doesn't come into the pit, saying that he does have the luxury of doing that. He is a bit of a way ahead, but you know, it surprises me. They've all dived into the pits. Doesn't look wet enough for me at the moment though, but you can see we're a little bit struggling for pace, so this lap definitely I think is coming onto the inters now, maybe just a little bit for the wets. We're coming onto the lean fuel mixture. I think we might get jumped by a few cars, but we shouldn't get jumped by too many. It would be an absolute disaster if we end up being out of the points by the end of our pit stop. It's all about the pit crew now. What can they do? They've been okay all season. We're going on to the intermediate tyres as expected. A 3.86. Not the best time in the world, but it's a time nonetheless. We're down into 4th now. We're dwindling in places. There's Nico Rosberg. I mean, we know what that car can do. We're coming into these corners. We can't get jumped by any more. I don't think we are. I think Alonso hasn't got the speed out of the corners yet. We've definitely secured ourselves. Oh, wait a minute. There's Alonso. There he is, and we're ahead of him. Nicely done, and nothing to complain about, but sadly, I don't think we're catching Rosberg or Vettel. I think it's time for a Sergio Davilo style train to hold up these guys and stick it out till 4th position now. So, a little bit disappointing, you know, from 2nd to 4th, but, you know, you're going to take that. We're probably going to stay ahead of Sebastian Vettel. It's definitely going to go down to the very last race of the season now. As we're coming across, you can see that these corners, we're starting to get to the point now where I think it could be dry conditions. You can see we're going in here, there's still water spraying up from the tyres, and it's a little bit tricky. You can see through this sector it's rather dry, but then it gets a lot damp and there's still puddles forming, and as you're coming onto the racing line, you know, it's still extremely wet, and you know, it's not fully dry, and you can see how the dry tyres would spin up and cause a lot of friction and just no drive coming out these corners. But you can see an AI car's coming into the pits now, and it's I think that's Nico Rosberg, but I think it's very questionable to come into the pits at this stage though. You can see the track is very much in wet conditions. We've put on the option tyres so for when we do come in now. But will Sergio come into this lap? He is this time going to come in. He's going to counteract what the other drivers are doing. He's not going to try and get the overcut there, and I think he's going to play it safe and try and get himself 4th position. Now he doesn't want to dwindle in more positions and lose out more dramatically than previously. So the number 20 car comes into its slot, out he goes, and he's on a fresh set of the option tyres till the end of the race. 10 laps these have got to last. I think they can do that with the McLaren car being okay on its tyres. Not the greatest, but it's okay nonetheless, and he hasn't lost any positions there. And now here we go, coming out of the pits, and I think this could be where we come to the end of our stint, really, because I don't think there's any danger from behind. You can see they're a bit of a way back now. I think we're going to find out as we come in. About 4ish, oh blimey, coming on to the last lap now. You can see they're right behind us now, and we've got no pace in this car. You know, it doesn't suit many tracks, and Brazil is certainly not one it suits. But Lewis Hamilton wins the Brazilian Grand Prix for a Mercedes. They've got 2 seasons in a row of winning this Grand Prix. No Fernando Alonso, so something's happened to Alonso there. But you're coming through now these last few sectors. You can see a Caterham, and I think there was a glimpse of a Marussia up there. But yeah, Felipe Massa's behind us. He's going to push us through these last few laps. You can see now there's all the Caterhams and Marussias, or some lapped cars there, but there's definitely some traffic coming up. I don't think it's Sebastian Vettel, because he's already crossed the line. If you look on the mini map, he's going through the Senna S's, 29 seconds ahead. But we're going to come up now, and we're going to probably come home and hopefully finish this race ahead of Felipe Massa, a guy who we was battling with a lot of our first season to get the Ferrari seat. But you know, the man who replaced him, and there's Marcus Ericsson there, very, very dangerous in his driving style. He almost cut across us there. We tried to avoid him and he turned into us. You don't pull over, you get across the line, just cross the bloody line. But you know, Marcus Ericsson doing his bit there. But we come home in 4th position. Sebastian Vettel takes 3rd from Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton as the championship battle gets very, very tight. Massa from Alonso. Jenson Button got himself into 7th, so well done from a pole position from him. Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, and Kimi Raikkonen rounds up after being a lap behind. Wow, just that's incredible. Lewis Hamilton has had an absolute dominant Grand Prix, and that does put him 5 points ahead of Nico Rosberg going into the final Grand Prix of the season. Whoever wins that race will be crowned Formula 1 World Champion. We are now out of the running, but we can definitely play our part. If we win the Grand Prix, it could throw a spanner in the works. So guys, tell me down below, who do you reckon is going to win the World Champion? Is it Lewis Hamilton or Nico Rosberg? Who is going to come first? Will it be Sergio Davilo, Daniel Ricciardo, or Sebastian Vettel? Maybe even Fernando Alonso. There's a long shot in there, but they're the 3 main runners. So guys, tell me down below what you think. Who is going to take the crown and who's going to take 3rd place? Where should we go next season? Disappointed from Sergio Davilo. And guys, I will see you next time. Have a very good day.